and verse 6. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 cents? Not one of them is forgotten by God. I want to talk about the beauty of the unseen in this lesson. We'll talk about Ephesians 4 in the next lesson. There are no headlines for the small acts of life. And that is what makes up most of our life, is just a series of small acts. And if you question that, I challenge you to sit down and keep a journal of your day for 2 or 3 days a week, however long you want to do it, and record how many times you made headlines, or how many times you went viral, to use a little more modern term. And the fact of the matter is that 99% of our life goes completely unseen outside of those who are in our immediate circle, and very rarely do we ever catch the attention much beyond that. Now, it does happen on occasion. We all know people who have made little headlines here or there for some reason or another, but it's quite an exceptional event in our lives. So Matthew 6:4 would assure us that our Father sees us in secret. All of those little bitty endless chores that you do, He sees every one of those. And He says, I'll reward you openly. Now, when I think of all the little chores, I want you to just think of, let's use the mom example, and all the things she does from the time she gets up to the time she goes to bed, and all those little mundane, repetitive, endless chores that are going to go on. Actually, they're going to go on basically to the grave, but they help the household run. They help the children grow. They support a husband, and all of those things that are of no notoriety, and yet they're absolutely essential to the success of life. Those are the small things your Father sees, and He will reward that faithfulness. So you can have a lot of little bitty impacts, but you can grow a lifetime, and you can impact a life, and you can change somebody's life. So I'm going to tell you, our success rests in small little acts. Now, if you get a chance to do one of those big ones, it's going to make headline news or catch the Pine Bluff Heat online or something like that, you're going to get a little notification for it. That's okay. That's all right. But don't think, well, I'm no good. I'm nobody, because nobody ever writes about me. Nobody ever talks about me. I would tell you just the opposite. Be glad nobody's writing about you and you're not in the spotlight, because the moment you get in the spotlight, you immediately have critics. That's just the way that one works. So God sees all the small things. There's our passage we opened with. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 copper coins? And yet God knows everything about them. They're not overlooked. And then he would go on to say, are we not more valuable than sparrows? And obviously that's a rhetorical question. The answer is yes. Dorcas did just little. I don't want to sound like I'm discrediting her, but I want to get the point across. Dorcas didn't do anything special. She made some coats. She sewed for some people. She sewed for some poor people. When she passed away untimely, they were so devastated by her loss, because that little act of kindness was a major contribution in their lives, that God decided He would raise her from the dead. Now, wouldn't you like to have a follow-up on her story and know what she did with the rest of her life after being resurrected? I want you to get comfortable being basically unseen. I think, really it's a nice place to be, so you don't get a whole lot of attention, because the old saying is, anybody that gets their head up above the crowd, that's the one people take shots at. So who was the boy with the 5 loaves? What was his name? Never told. What family did it come from? Don't have a clue. The best we do is we assume he was a young lad, because that's what the Bible says, and we assume he was a Jew. We don't even know that he was a Jew, do we? And yet that one little small act touched 5,000 lives that day. Who was the poor widow? She gave her last 2 mites, and that's the one where Christ said she put in more than all the wealthy people. What was her name? Don't know. Where did she go when she left there? Don't know. What did she accomplish in her life otherwise? Have not a clue. So again, don't dismiss the hidden life. When you do a little good deed for somebody, understand, God sees it. And it doesn't have to be anything that anybody else would notice. If it's just a ride to the grocery store to pick up something on the way home, or some small little, what we would inappropriately call a trivial errand for somebody, it was important to somebody. That little visit at the hospital, that little drop by the nursing home to visit, that card you wrote, that phone call you made. Those things. Those are the things. They're not seen. We don't know about them all. We just want you to wear the name Christ. Get out there and do what you do and be Christian. You know how we used to sing it, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And the only place I want you to let it shine is right there, what I'm going to call basically your inner circle and a little bit further out. Just your own little corner of the community you live in. That's where you want to let it shine. Now, the genius of that is, if I will do that in my little private circle and a little bit beyond it, and then my neighbor does the same thing, and my neighbor's neighbor does the same thing. You get the idea. We just keep going on. And eventually everybody in Pine Bluff said, I'm going to be the best person I can be in the privacy of my home, with the privacy of my family. And then my little circle of social contact beyond that, I'm going to be the best that I can be. What would Pine Bluff be? We wouldn't have had somebody driving through the Banjo Pizza office yesterday, would we? Or we wouldn't have somebody taking out the telephone pole down at Catawba 28 yesterday, would we? We would have an entirely different world if people were trying to be the absolute best they can be as they go about their business. And all of those things that kind of fall into that realm, 99.9% of them are nothing as far as the world's concerned. But as far as God's concerned, He's watching. And what you do in secret, He will reward openly. So your labor is never in vain. I know sometimes we feel, oh, what's the point? Why am I even doing this? Let's go over to 1 Corinthians 15:58, where he encourages us not to lose heart. 1 Corinthians 15, very last verse. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil is not in vain in the Lord. And when we read always abounding in the work of the Lord, I don't want you to think about I got to get on board a ship and sail to some foreign country, learn a new language, and be a missionary. I'm talking about being a husband that loves his wife as though he cherishes his own flesh. I'm talking about that father who raises his children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. That employee that goes to work and does his job as though he or she is doing it for the Lord. That's just the mundaneness of life. And it all has a point. And as we all do those things, we make a contribution. So there's no wasted obedience. There's no wasted sacrifice if you're looking at heaven. If you're looking at God keeping score, so to speak, then it's all just where you want it to be. And we can be little bitty tiny links in the chain. We've got to go to Matthew 10:42. I could quote it for you, but I want you to see it and hear it word for word about that cup of water. This is how small I want you to think. And this is biblical, isn't it? And whoever in the name of a disciple gives to one of these little ones even a cup of cold water to drink, truly I say to you, you shall not lose his reward. Are you getting the idea small now? I'll pick up socks. Why? Because I'm a clean freak, or because I understand my wife's not my maid? You understand? Small. Think small here. That's where I want you to go, because these are the little things where life really meets. These are the little places where the cogs come together, and those courtesies and those kindnesses and the manners and all of those things, they're the oil that keep those things running smooth. That thoughtfulness, those, I don't know how to put them into words. There's so many. So don't ease up for lack of understanding and not seeing it. Just keep going. Just keep going. And look, the smallest little thing here, this is going to sound a little selfish, but that's okay. If I nurture my wife as the Bible tells me to, and he says, cherish your wife, nurture her as you do your own flesh. What kind of a marriage am I going to have? Is she going to be meaner, angry all the time? She's just going to be so angry. He is just so good to me. I can't stand him. Is that how that's going to work out? And the same, as the woman does her part. Is that going to set the stage? Now, if we got two people setting the stage, and I'm just talking about things like, putting your wet towel in the hamper or rinsing out the sink after you brush your teeth or, don't leave your dirty dishes sitting all over the place for her to pick up, but you can at least dump them in the sink. It's not that hard to load the dishwasher, just those little bitty things. What kind of marriage you going to have? What kind of marriage you want? I want a marriage where when I walk home, I feel like I'm in a place of peace. I want to walk in and I don't want to see her roll her eyes and go, oh, he's home, huh? I want to walk in and at least see a smile of how he made it safe, and vice versa. So when I say it sounds a little selfish, all of these are links in that chain. They're all part of the puzzle. And it's not just that I'm laying up treasures in heaven, but I am because I'm doing what God told me to do. But I'm also setting the stage for the best experience I can have here on earth. And as I start there in the home and I spread that out a little bit further and a little bit further, and you can do this at the grocery store. If you have the regular person at the checkout stand who sees you and recognizes you and they realize this person's always friendly, they're going to be friendlier to you when you come through. You go to the same restaurant, you get the same waiter or waitress, you tip them nice. They're going to be nice to you. What are you doing? Well, number one, you're just being kind and you're letting your light shine, but also you're setting the stage so that your life's experience can be the best that it can be. Call it selfish if you want, but I want a good life experience. And if I can do that by following Scripture and doing what Scripture says, do good unto all men, especially those of the household of faith, then my labor is never in vain. And if you can connect the dots, my rewards start now, today, right here. Now let me make that a little small again. So some of us like to go to Murray's Dinner Playhouse. We make that 10 times a year because we get the season pass. That's a guaranteed date night, 10 times a year. Gentlemen, wise idea, good investment. Well, we have a regular waitress. We always request him. And the women are really good to him because he's cute, I guess. But you know what? My coffee cup never goes empty. And he knows our little party so well that he knows what we want to drink. And when he sees our name on the table, when we get to the table, the drinks are already there. Now, I'll be honest, we tip him nice. We treat him good. He treats us good. What did we do? We set the stage for a happy, enjoyable evening. That's what we want to do beyond Murray's, but just everywhere we go. It's never in vain. So if you start feeling invisible, and feeling invisible is part of the battle we face now, because if you get caught up in social media, one of the things you can get hooked on is you put your post up, those greatest chocolate chip cookies you ever made, or that crazy super-sized catfish that Jimmy caught the other day. That thing looked like it was 5 foot tall. Then the temptation, and I'm not saying this is wrong, you just don't want to get caught up in it. The temptation is to go back and go, how many people like that? Now, if you know how to chase down all your stats, you can see how many people looked at it. If you really know how to chase down your stats, and they're all there on Facebook, you can tell exactly how long people looked at it. And you get caught up in all of that and how much did now that's not good. Don't get caught up in all that. You go ahead and post your cute pictures on Facebook. That's a good use of Facebook. But if you feel invisible, that's part of the battle. There's 8 billion of us on planet Earth. That's a lot of competition. I don't want to compete with that many people. I like an audience of one. And if you hadn't connected the dots already, my audience of one is who? She's sitting right there. Right? That's a whole lot more doable than an audience of 8 billion. So really, set your mind on heaven. and be looking way down the road to that well done, thou good and faithful servant. That's really it. Because I don't care what you get between here and the tombstone. If you don't get the well done, thou good and faithful servant at the end, then well, it was just wasted. Your hidden service. It's some of the best. Luke 5:16 told us that Jesus would often slip away just to go pray. Just find your prayer times. And he would get up early in the morning. Deliberately seek some of the unseen times. Go looking for little kind deeds that you can do that nobody's really going to know about. Oh, a couple of people may know about it. Obviously, the person you do it for is going to know about it. But this isn't, put it on Facebook and put it on Instagram and put it on TikTok and everything else. This is just something you're going to go do. And if it comes up later on in a conversation, then that's fine. We're not saying that's wrong. But you didn't do it so that it would come up later on. Your satisfaction, your greatest joy was in the actual deed of doing it. That's where you got it. And if you get a little icing on the cake, that's all right also. So you don't do your deeds to be seen of men. Matthew 6 is where he starts warning the Pharisees about them doing their deeds to be seen of men. Let's read a couple of those verses. Matthew 6:1 beginning. Beware of practicing your righteousness for men to be noticed by them. Otherwise you have no reward with your Father who's in heaven. So when you give to the poor, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogue and in the streets, so that you may be honored by men. Truly I say to you, they have their reward in full. But when you give to the poor, don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving will be in secret, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. Now look at that. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. That's the goal. It's not for notoriety or anything along that line. So we may be most Christ-like when we are unseen. When we're doing those little hidden things that nobody knows about, that phone call nobody's going to know about except the person you called, that little visit, that little good deed, whatever it is you did, that may be. If Jesus slipped off to do some of his good, prayer in private, that may be it. Now, what's the thing about the church and our growth? Most of it is unseen acts. It's small stuff. I really believe that part of the problem is we came into the modern times, wherever you want to call that, and media became more and more important. People started thinking, oh, we'll grow the church with social media. We'll grow the church with TV. We'll grow the church with radio. Well, we're in an odd place. Radio, TV, and social media is definitely not a wrong place to let your light shine. But I really believe the church grows more by those unseen acts. The little invitations, the little comments, just the little invite, are helping somebody out and making a little private, personal connection with people. And when we have a bunch of people that find their joy in those hidden acts of service, those low-key acts, and that's when you have a congregation that's really going to grow. Got to do a little aside for you. There's a guy doing an expose on mega churches. And mega churches are having a constant turnover of people, and they factor in the idea that their constant turnover is going to be a factor, so they just replace the empty seats with new people. That's the basic formula in big cities. And so they did a study to ask why people stay. Forgot who they hired. I'd have to look that up again. But they did a study on why people get connected with church and why people stay. And the ones that stay, this was the two things. If you want people to stay, they have to learn to read the Bible alone. And they've got to learn to pray alone. Because when you find someone who makes a connection with Jesus alone, then they're going to have an anchor that makes them stay. But when their connection is with the band on the stage, then when the songs start to cycle through and get kind of redundant, how many times you've seen Amazing Grace? Countless times. If your relationship is with Christ alone, you can sing Amazing Grace 400 times and it makes your heart sing every time. Well, this guy said, let's face it, the person on pew is the consumer. When they get bored, they go looking for another show. because they don't have a relationship with Christ. It's a really interesting series. I need to find the original and dig in more to it, because he is letting folks have it at the mega level, which is quite interesting. And he did also say, when you go back to the Bible and just look at the Bible. And I thought, that's a pretty good idea, isn't it? So let me get back to my lesson. We're mostly unknown Christians, and think it's just kind of a necessity. If we had to be known, if we had to achieve a certain level of recognition among our social peers and beyond, we'd be dead in the water. What are you going to do? You couldn't do it. I know the world's obsessed with being visible. It's obsessed with the loud, the flashy, the biggest, the latest, the newest. And that's horrible. Because when you hit that level of peak, it's really, really, really hard to hold it. And when you look at the entertainment community and you have some new singer come along, it's not too many of them that can get up there and stay. And stay, and stay, and stay. More of them are like one-hit wonders. And it's just hard to keep the audience entertained when they're always wanting something new. It was an unnamed servant that was Naaman's rescue. He was mad. Remember, he wasn't going to go to the Jordan and dip 7 times in it, but he had some servant, don't know who he was, reasoned with him just a little bit, and it changed his life completely. That's what you want to be. Regular people. We're the fabric of the church. We really are. And I think most of us who agree with that, right? We're all pretty regular. We go about regular lives doing regular things, and nobody's paying too much attention to us, and that's fine. But that's why we have had the Lord's Church here. You can trace it back to 28th Street or 6th Street or Beats and 6 or however far back you want to go. But it's because we've had a lot of regular people over the years. So think about your walk and the normalcy of your walk. And remember, you are a priest. We're all priests. You can look that up, 1 Peter 2:9 if you want. And your presence matters. Everyone matters. Because nobody can take your place. No one can replace you. Can we survive without you? Absolutely. One of these days you'll have a memorial service for some old guy named Clarence Fell. And you'll say goodbye to him. And hopefully the memorial service won't go too long and irritate you. And the next day, 80% of those people will get on about their business and won't think of me again. And the church will go on. It will survive fine without me. But no one will ever replace me. That's the way it works. And if you're going to learn to find your value in that, you are uniquely you. And bring your value to what we have. Your presence matters. Last point. Heaven records what earth overlooks. We are laying up treasures in heaven. This is what it's all about. This world is not my home. I am passing through. I don't care whether you believe it or not. It's true. You're going to die. And we're going to have your memorial service perhaps, or you're going to have mine. I don't care which of us go first. I had a preacher tell me once, he said, I want to be dead when the Lord comes back. Looked at him kind of funny. And then he quoted a verse. He said, the dead in the Lord shall rise first. And then we who remain will be caught up with them to be forever with the Lord. He said, I want to be in the first wave. So I'm not sure who wants to go first, but we are laying up treasures in heaven. Luke 10:20, this is after the disciples have been sent out and they come back and they're all excited. You got to go about 3 verses before verse 20. And they say, even the demons are subject to us in your name. And as Christ talks to them, he says, no, don't rejoice in that. Rejoice that your names are written in the book of life. That's the one thing that counts. So the cards you wrote, or the phone call you made, or nowadays, a lot of times it's the Facebook post or wherever you're hooking up on it, social. All of those little things, they matter. It may just be your own private growth. You choose the Bible over TV time. Now let me be clear. I'm not trying to take your TV away from you. I'm just trying to get your TV to be secondary to seeking first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. You keep your TV. I got one too. But the Bible comes first. Prayer time comes first. It is the priority. And those times where you turn the other cheek, I know it's Proverbs 19:11. He says it's to our glory to overlook a transgression. You don't have to pick every fight you're invited to. You don't have to fight every little issue that goes wrong. There's a time to understand that some people just have bad days. And there's another little issue in there. Some people just sound cranky. They may not mean to sound cranky. They just sound cranky. Do any of y'all know somebody like that? Every time they open their mouth, they sound like they're mad at the world. You don't have to fight that one. Turn the other cheek. Just look the other way and just let it go. There are times when you just need to let things go. And heaven will record that. And again, if I didn't put that up there, it's Proverbs 19 and verse 11. Here's one thing I'm pretty certain of. Your name will never be in lights here. Ain't gonna happen. And if it does, come on, who cares? So I do my little scroll time on the internet. I'm scrolling through and there's this little video. And there's this guy. Don't know who he is, don't know his name, don't know nothing about him. And there are like 20, 30,000 people crowding in on him. And he's got all this security entourage around him, keeping the crowd off of him. And I'm like, who is this? It was some internet influencer that everybody got excited about. And guess what? I still don't know his name. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't care how high up the ladder you get. There's not too many names that are going to be remembered past that little brief moment of fame. It just doesn't work that way. Presidents, the young people today couldn't name you the presidents. They don't care who the presidents were. I don't think they're wrong for that. I'm just saying what happened. I thought that was the most powerful seat on the planet. So, it's over. Actors, they won the Oscar. Who won the last Oscar? I don't have a clue. Sports, they're the hero today. They're broke and bankrupt tomorrow. Don't worry about your name being in the lights. Live a quiet life. We want there to be people in heaven because of us and the nice little things we did. Matthew 25:34, that's where he says, I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was hungry and you gave me food. To that passage, and they said, well, when did we ever see you thirsty or naked or in prison? He said, inasmuch as you did it unto one of the least of these, my brethren. Now we're back to little bitty small details all over again. Cup of cold water in his name given. Will the hope in some heart renew? Remember that song? Colossians 3:23-24, that's one I use all the time. Whatever you do it as though you're doing it for the Lord. That's what we're going to do. In Revelation 2:10, we're going to be faithful unto death. And if you can understand how to line that up, then you're going to be victorious, because you do not have to have visibility to be valuable. We've had 6,000 years of people living lives in right connection with God, and none of them had visibility at a level we think about visibility today. Not at all. But they're at home in heaven with God. And that's the part that counts. So the kingdom of God is advanced by people who are present in their homes, humble in their service, and steady in their love. That's the message I want to leave with you. And simply ask, are you? Are you humble in your service? Present in your home with your little inner circle? You're really there. And you're letting your light shine. If you are, stay the course. If it's not, we can help you. Let us do so while we stand and sing.